Hey guys, today we're doing Enchantress deck tech. So this is a list I used to run last year. Took it to the cornerstone and did okay. And I've updated it with Gothic's all new cards that came out. So let's get into it. We'll start with our auras. We have 15 of them. We'll start with Wall of Fire, one copy. Wall of Fire is great in the sense that you can move it around and pass a unit through, so your opponent units will take 3 damage, and then you can attack on top of this for 2, so you can possibly get 5 points of damage in. It is good, and it's also conjured on only one site, so it's not an oversized unit when you animate it, therefore it's not a big target either. I found that when you animate bigger auras, those that span on 4 squares, because they're animated as minions till your next turn, they become very easy to remove. You can lose a lot of decent auras slash minions like this, so only one side is great for this, and the added damage is amazing. Moving on to Sphere of Animosity, we have 2 of those. 2 copy because it's such a great card. Honestly, one of the best auras ever made. It's got a couple of things going for the list. The fact that the opponent's avatar cannot leave or be defended. Being defended is huge, because you'll find that when you play Enchantress, there's a lot of minion that stays in between those last points of damage, and or having a minion staying in between you and your opponent's avatar, so not being able to be defended is massive for us. Being healed as well obviously is big, and can't leave is the cherry on top. So yeah, 2 of those turns into a 3-power minion. This is respectable. We also have 2 copies of Entangled Terrain. Entangled Terrain is a great card for control. It costs 4, so it turns into a 4 minion. Minions occupying affected sites lose airborne and immobile last 3 of your turns. It's good in the sense that you can immobilize something, attack it, and then if you somehow disable it with like access to Stefania or anything like this, it turns back into an aura. So you guarantee for it to have it stays at least another turn. It only lasts 3 turns. It's not an eternal aura. You can't animate an aura slash minion and then disable it and then get rid of the underlying enchantment. Text that says last 3 of your turn, there will be 2 busted otherwise. It's just happening on different layers of rules, but yeah, it's still a great card. We run 2 copies of this. We also run a copy of Salt the Earth. So Salt the Earth is the same as the Wall of Fire. It just stands on one single square. Conjure Salt the Earth to a single site, destroying it, so you get the added site destruction. Site can be played here, even better if you manage to conjure it in the middle of the realm. This is a massive handicap in the sense that your opponent won't be able to make his way to you as easily as it's supposed to. And yeah, it's also a 4 cost aura, so it turns into a 4-power minion, which is nothing to scoff at. We've got his Earth counterpart as well, called Sow the Earth. Sow the Earth if he wants to be displayed. There you go. So Sow the Earth, same cost 4. Conjure Sow the Earth to a single void square, playing your top site here. So you get a bit of ramp on top of that. It's massive. This site provides double mana and threshold, so it's huge in our list because we have 3 elements and we also have a lot of costly spells in terms of threshold. So the Earth is definitely a staple in this list. Moving on to the Black Plague. The Black Plague is amazing. That came out in Arthurian Legend. There's a couple of spells like this, the Famine, the Black Plague, the Blaze as well, all these auras that remove something. So the Black Plague cost 4. So you sense a theme there. There's a lot of 4 cost auras in here. So at the end of your turn, the weakest minion occupying affected sites dies if tied. Choose one on the spell if none dies. So this is an aura that spans on 4 squares, so it becomes an oversized unit when you animate it. And it gets rid of minions. It lasts a little longer usually than its counterpart because it tends to have more weaker minion on the board. So this is definitely a good card to have in here. We also have the Great Famine, which is the fire version, a little different though. At the end of your turn, the strongest minion this time occupying affected sites dies If tied, choose one spell. If none, dies. The same conditions where we're targeting the strongest minion this time. So equally as good, basically. This is more obviously a late game auras that you want to try to play as opposed to the Black Plague. If you want to clean the house, you want to play early in the game. Moving on to one of my favorite aura ever, called Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm costs 4. It's an exceptional aura, and it reads: at the end of your turn, deal 3 damage to a random unit atop affected sites. This is an aura that spans on 4 sites. Then you may move Thunderstorm 1 step. After it deals damage 3 times, dispel it. So it basically lasts 3 turns as well. The turn where you put it on is included. So the turn you play it, and then a couple of other turns after that. The fact that it moves is crazy because you can, have it on board, animate it, move it, and then it'll do its damage, and then it'll move again. So it's basically an aura with movement +1, which is massive. It is huge because you tend to play chase with your opponent's avatar most of the time when it gets to like late game. With Thunderstorm it's easy, it chases by itself. And we also have 2 copies of Wildfire playing chase as well. So Wildfire is a 4-cost aura 2, and it says conjure Wildfire atop a single site nearby. So you see we have a bit of a mix between single sites and 4 square auras. It reads: at the end of each turn, each unit here takes 3 damage, then move Wildfire to an adjacent location it hadn't visited before. If none remain, dispel Wildfire. So similar, let's say, than Thunderstorm, but there's no randomness into the damage, which makes it a bit more reliable. However, you cannot move it where you want. So this is the drawback of Wildfire. You have to sort of design a path where you want your Wildfire to end up, and if you animate it, you use 2 squares out of the 20 you can possibly have Wildfire going on to. Regardless, it is one of the best auras in this list as well, because the fact that you have static damage when you get onto a location, plus the fact that you can animate it and get 4 more damage is really crazy. One last aura on this list is Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace wasn't in the list last year because the threat of Spirit Undead wasn't as bad, but I feel like in Gothic it really is present. Obviously lots of undeads, but also more spirits too in all those Voidwalk Harbinger lists that I've seen recently. So Rest in Peace definitely earned the spot this year. So it's an aura. It reads: whenever a spirit or undead minion occupies affected land sites, borrow it. So you can basically walk around and then clean the board from all the spirits and undead if they don't have borrow. I know there's a couple, I think Entombed, something like that, has borrow, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, regardless, it's gonna do a lot of damage on the board. Basically, if you just gotta move it around like this. Spans 4 sites as well, so if you manage to animate it and then jump square, you've got obviously better chances to hit your targets. And this is also a 5-cost aura, so 5 power minion is great. We'll go over our artifacts. Not much to say about artifacts really. We've got the classic Onyx core. We run a lot of heavy earth threshold sites, and we run a lot of heavy earth threshold spells and auras. Thinking about Archangel Michael, Sow the Earth is 3 as well. It's a mana hungry list, it really needs the excess mana all the time. There's a lot to do because you gotta cast magic to animate your auras, and then you also want to add something on the board, maybe like another minion or etc, etc. So it's really a mana hungry list. So Onyx core makes sense. I haven't added any other core in there. It's been doing okay so far. It's probably going to change at some point if I feel like I'm struggling with mana or threshold, but so far it's been okay. We also have a Philosopher's Stone. So Philo Stone, obviously, first spell of each element cast by the bearer, each turn costs 1 less. So in the same vein as the core, we want some mana reduction or a way to have our spells on the board more efficiently, quicker, or play a couple spells a turn and being guaranteed that by the Philo Stone. So obviously it has its place in the list. We also have a Ring of Morrigan because, you know, Ring of Morrigan is the card that you can't really pass. We play a lot of magics as well. We'll replay a lot of spells. I'm thinking about the Trinket, Thor Shaman Trinket. We'll play it basically each turn. This is what's going to animate auras most of the time. So it's a guaranteed 1 point of damage. Even if we don't get to ill, the 1 point of damage is huge. It'll help finish a minion or start chipping at it. So yeah, Morrigan Ring is great. So Thor Shaman Trinket is the way we used to animate our auras consistently. The fact that it comes back in your hand at the end of the turn guarantees you that every turn you will be able to play something that will animate whatever aura you have on the board just for one. The cost is very important because it's very minimal. So yeah, so we want to have a Trinket in our starting hand, so you got a mulligan for it, and if you don't, you want to have maybe the Princess to go and find it. It is really important because this is not something we can wait to find throughout the game. It's really important to start with it. So if you don't have a mulligan for it, even if you mulligan a good hand, mulligan your 3 cards and then make sure you have a Trinket in hand. Also have 4 Water of Paradise because 4 Waters of Paradise can help you put a big bomb on the board. For cheaper, I'm thinking about Archangel Michael obviously, but we also have Galahad. The Grandmaster Wizard is great. It makes you draw 3 cards, but it costs 6, you know, and once it drew his cards, it doesn't really do much. It's just a charm blocker basically. So if you reduce the cost of the wizard with 4 Waters of Paradise, well, it feels way better already. And the fact that it costs no threshold can be huge early in the game, you know, if you want to have something crazy popping on the board like Sword or something like this and you want it earlier, or you didn't really have the mana to play it and then it sort of stays in your hand. Well, 4 Waters helps to empty your hand in this case. Our last 2 artifacts are 2 toolboxes because toolboxes is such a good spell in the sense that it obviously gives you more answers at any given time in the game. We'll go over the collection straight away as well, so it makes more sense. We have a copy of Detonate in there. We'll get back to it. Zap as a finisher. Zap is, you know, toolbox and Zap sort of skew the death door mechanic in my opinion, because we've all been there, you know, a lot of games where you're on death door and then you last another 3, 4, maybe more turns because your opponent cannot finish somehow and then you manage to win the game somehow, you know. That happens a lot, and in my opinion this is what made Sorcery great. The fact that the game wasn't over at death door, but sadly guaranteed hit spells like Zap and the fact that it can be fetched easily kind of stop that death door mechanic shenanigan. For me, it just warped it. So yeah, Zap I think just warped the death door mechanic. Sadly, it just made it a little less flavorful. Okay, moving on to Displace. So Displace is great because it's a blink for our auras and you can also target, you know, your opponent's stuff. So yeah, it's great. We have that in the toolbox. We have that in the main list as well. A Lightning Bolt because Lightning Bolt is a great removal tool. We have a Boil because there's a lot of water being played. There's a lot of water being played basically, you know, and destroy all minions occupying target water side up to 2 steps away. It goes around ward, I'm pretty sure as well. Just cleans house very easily for 3. We have Bury. We have it in the collection but also in the main list because it's one of the most efficient removal spell. You can bury the ring as well if your opponent keeps healing and you have no other way to do damage for a while. Well, Bury sorts you out in a sense. We have a landmass as well. If we struggle with mana, it's a little bit of ramp. I don't think it's good enough to go in the main list, but it could become useful. Like you're on turn 3, you play your toolbox and then you don't really see like a way to play your big spells. Well, if you put a landmass, will give you that boost you might need. And also in the collection we have 2 Murderers of Crows. So Murderers of Crows basically has 2 uses in my opinion. It's either to get rid of wards if it gets out of control on the board. Your opponent plays Savior and it's got wards everywhere, wards on the Logbar Cat, ward on other really powerful minions like this. Well, Murder of Crows really helps removing all those minions, you know. You pop the wards with the 1 damage, and then you finish the job with whatever spell you have or a minion, etc, etc. So situational spell, but that's why it's making sense in the toolbox. We'll move on to the minions. We have 19 minions, so 19 minions and 15 auras, so that's a possible 34 minion, which is really respectable for a control list. We'll start with the classic Highland Princess. So Highland Princess as a Genesis effect that reads: search your spellbook for an artifact that costs 1 or less, reveal it and put it into your hand, shuffle. So the princess is here mainly to get the Torchhammer trinket. This is something you want to have in your hand when you start, or as early as possible. So that's what she's here basically. If you start with the trinket in hand and then you end up drawing the princess, it's fine. You know, there's other stuff she can fetch. She can fetch the core for that added mana and threshold. She can fetch the stone as well, the ring. It's never a dead draw, but if you don't have your trinket, and you know, I really insist on that, use the princess to find it. We also have a copy of Sister Stephania. Sister Stephania has been one of my favorite cards since Gothic. Really, it flew under the radar for a long time, and then I think people warmed up to the fact that it's such a good card. It just completely annihilates all those Genesis effects, and then wherever it moves, it just becomes a threat because there's a lot of minions that rely on their ability to be decent. And Sister Stephania just basically erased all those ability. It works in our favor as well because we don't have, you know, minions all over the board, but they're auras, and then we choose to animate them. So if Sister Stephania is in the way, we can just move her around and then animate a minion slash aura, and then get on to doing some damage. It's a great card in the sense that it breaks the parity a little bit, meaning that it's a one-sided effect if you don't have many minions on the board, and then you can choose to, you know, animate your auras whenever you like, when she's out of the way or not on the board anymore. Same vein, we have Sisters of Silence. So Sisters of Silence is pretty much the same. It costs 2, it's only 1 power, Stephania is 2 though, so it's weak to deserts. The Sisters of Silence reads: other nearby minions lose all non-basic ability. It's pretty much the same as Sister Stephania, a bit of redundancy here. We have a copy of Barging Bargist as well. It is a 3 power minion, 2 fire threshold, that has movement +1 and void walk. So this is great early in the game if you want to put pressure on your opponent. You know, it doesn't have to attack straight away, but at least it's there and your opponent knows there's a threat looming. I really like that card. It's very good early in the game. Later in the game, it isn't that great because, let's face it, the void walk is why this card is relevant. Movement +1 is nice, but void walk is great in a sense that you can just be up and close early in the game with your opponent, breaking the sight rule. We also have 2 root spiders. The 2 root spiders, we're still in the same control disable theme that we have going here. So root spider is great in a defensive position. You want to have it in the sight in front of your avatar or even under your avatar, but it can also be sent away in the realm and then act as a landmine, you know, that your opponent won't be able to have their minion going on here because they'll get trapped. There isn't many solutions at this time to get rid of root spider efficiently besides, you know, flooding obviously. A Baylor, it's the root spiders. We have a spell called Hellfire as well, which gets rid of anything under the subsurface. And we also have that side called Sea of Hash that basically says nothing can exist under the subsurface. But yeah, not many solutions for that, so root spider is still the biggest pain in the butt. We also have a Giantess. A Giantess works well with root spiders, works well with Stephania and Sisters of Silence as well, because it's a Genesis ability. So you have your root spider on the square somewhere, you play the Giantess on there, the Genesis won't work and she'll become a 5 power minion that costs you 3. So it's pretty good. It used to be a staple, not a combo, but the staple synergy back in the day of alpha and beta, and it's still working pretty good. We have a copy of Sturmgeist. So Sturmgeist is a really oppressive minion that came out of Gothic. It reads: airborne, whenever an enemy casts magic, Sturmgeist steps closer, then strike it if adjacent. So it's a 3 power minion. It will basically come up and close to your open avatar or spellcaster minion, and get his damage in regardless. If he gets lightning bolt, it will, if adjacent, still get the damage in, so you're not losing everything as well. It's just how the storyline will work in this case. So worth running. I only have one copy of this because it was hard to squeeze another one basically with all the good minions we have in this list, but regardless, Stormgeist is an amazing card. Also, we have a copy of Avenging Angel, cost 4, has 3 power, is an exceptional angel, has Hairborn, and has charge and lethal if an ally died on your opponent's last turn. This will work if you animate your aura as a minion and then your opponent will kill it, it counts. So this is basically why the angel is in the list, because your animated auras stay as a minion until your next turn. So most often if it's a threat, your opponent will remove it. It will try to remove your Black Plague or your Famine or your Thunderstorm. This is when Avenging Angel becomes good, because you guarantee to have charge and lethal. So if your opponent gets rid of your aura slash minion and then it has a big bomb on the board, well, you in turn get to get rid of that bomb with lethal. So it is a very good synergy in this list. We also have 2 copies of Gargantula. So Gargantula, there's a little bit to talk about it in this list. It's obviously an amazing control minion. The fact that you can grab any minion and then disable it for as long as another unit has to tap to free it. So that unit won't be able to attack, it's just have to use its action to free said minion. So I can tell you that not many people will go out of their way, unless the minion is like Lilith or something like this, really powerful, but not many people will go out of their way to get close to Gargantula, tap another minion to free one minion, and then put basically another minion at risk, you know? So you sort of guarantee that once it's trapped in the cocoon, it's gonna stay in here. But there's another layer in this card, in this list, in the sense that, in the fact that if you animate your aura as a minion, you can basically use Gargantula to wrap it in the cocoon and then save it for later. It'll be disabled. You can use Gargantula to tap and then cocoon it, unwrap it basically, and then save your aura for later. Your Black Plague, it's not going to dispel anything, or it's going to dispel your own Gargantula. You know, that can happen as well. And well, in this case, you just wrap it and save it for later, like you would do, you know, with your leftover or something like that. So Gargantula in the sense is amazing, and this is why we're running 2 copies. We also have a copy of Pudge Butcher, because if you're on Earth, you have to have at least a copy of Pudge Butcher. Always a threat, immobile. If you silence it, it's not immobile anymore, so there's other ways to silence it, such as the Sisters of Silence, Stefania, and all of that. So it becomes a 4-cost minion that has 5 power, so pretty decent in my book. And obviously the fact that if you don't silence it, it still have an amazing ability, which is tap, shoot a projectile. If it's a unit, drag it to this location, Pudge may fight it. So yeah, Pudge Butcher is great. Another great card in Archangel Michael. So Archangel Michael is quite costly in threshold, but it really is worth it. It's a 4-power minion. It has Airborne and Ward. Its Genesis says Michael takes a step, then strike all enemies at his location. So this card is great in the sense that you usually want to play it late in the game. And once you may be in danger, you're quite low in life, or you're on death door, your avatar is a bit too close from minions or range for a spell. You play Michael, it takes a step, strikes whatever's there, you know, doesn't lose his ward because it's a strike. And now you have a minion that is capable of covering a lot of location with Airborne, protect your avatar twice because it has a ward unless it's being removed by a spell, or it could be a site like a desert or something, which is unfortunate, but that happens as well. But yeah, you have a minion that is going to act as a protector, so he comes in, removes something, most of the time multiple something, and then act as a wall for at least a turn. So this is why Michael is Very versatile and great in most lists I have on Earth now will have Archangel Michael in it. Moving on to 2 Dapper Vampire, so at this point not really needed to introduce the vampires. They have airborne. They heal you when you strike something. It's amazing. They cost 5 as well, so a bit late game usually, but even though you can have some cost reduction and then get them earlier, and then it's always a threat. Removal magnet, so there's that as well if you want to bait your opponent into using all its spells to play something even more annoying. You can use the vampire, it works at 3. We also have a Panorama Manticore. So Panorama Manticore is a 5 cost minion that has 5 power. It's a beast with airborne and lethal. At the end of your turn, if you cast an on-fire spell this turn, untap Panorama Manticore. So there's a fair chance we're going to cast an on-fire spell. The trinket works, so it will untap basically every turn. Lethal and airborne is great combo, and then it's also a 5 power minion, so it's nothing to scoff at. Whereas you use it on the defensive, on the offense, it's a great minion to have in your list. We also have a copy of Sir Galahad, which is even more relevant in Gothic now. It's a 3 power 6 defense minion, so Knights in Arthurian Legends had a split defense and power, so this one is 3 and 6. It costs 5. Sir Galahad's strikes heal you, same as the vampire basically. Nearby allies take no damage from demons, spirits and undead, so it covers quite the range there. So in Gothic this is probably the most types you will see: demons, spirits and undead. Galahad is a good protection tool in this sense, so yeah, really good too. We have a copy of Stonegaze Gorgons. So Stonegaze Gorgons is also used for that disable / silence effect. It works very good for us because the same redundancy as Stefania and stuff like that, but auras won't be all the time minions. So if you want to control the board a bit better and then move them somewhere and then animate your auras so they can become minions and then get in for damage, this is becoming possible with the Gorgon. The fact that they're just disable minions in the cross pattern adjacent is great as well. It's not nearby, so it gives you a bit more room to move around with your single squared auras and stuff like this. So yeah, Stonegaze Gorgon is great in this list, and it's also one of my favorite art period in the whole of Sorcery contested realm, so only for that it should earn its spot. Our last minion in this list, we have Grandmaster Wizard. So Grandmaster Wizard cost 6, has 0 power, but that's not what we're playing. It is a spellcaster that has a Genesis effect that says draw 3 spells. So yeah, not much to say about it really. You want to have that late in the game when your hand is empty. You get your Grandmaster, you play it hopefully with something that can reduce its cost, you know, like the 4 waters, or use the mana from a core or the Philostone, and then yeah, you get your 3 spells and you're on your merry way. Okay, talking about spells, now we're gonna go over our magic. So we have 17 magic in here. We'll start with 2 copies of Detonate. So Detonate is in this list because you'll find that you're on your last turn of Thunderstorm or Entangled Terrain, and then it's just basically gonna die based on its damage. It's stalled the board a little bit and all that sort of stuff. But there's one more thing you can do with it. You can just blow it up. It didn't do enough damage to get rid of a threat because the Lord of Lies is 6 or something like this, and boom, you just detonate it. You detonate it, it deals another 3 damage to each unit at its location. So you need to keep in mind that it could hit your own units as well. But most of the time, it's just going to do a lot of damage. Get that extra 3 damage is huge. So that's the reason Detonate is in this list. And we have a copy of Divine Healing. Divine Healing is a spell that should have been unique, I think. I think we've all been in this Archimago versus where your opponent heals for 21 plus and you think this will never end. Regardless, we're on 1 copy of Divine Healing. It's an exceptional, you can have 3 of them if you really feel like a villain. We only have 1 copy in here because we couldn't justify have another couple copies of there because there's better spell that works for us, I suppose. We also have 2 copies of Displace. So Displace, we went over it when we did the collection. Displace is great because it teleports auras, which, you know, is huge for us. If you teleport your Wildfire, you opened up a bit more terrain to explore, let's say, and then artifacts as well is great because I don't know, your opponent is right in the middle of the way, you just put it in the corner of the realm. It's not going to do much there. It won't be able to do any magic efficiently or anything like this. So yeah, it's good in that sense too. We have a copy of Lightning Bolt, so good removal spell, especially early in the game. You don't want to let your opponent build any sort of board presence. Use a Lightning Bolt. Don't be scared of using it. Don't keep it in your hand for a possible scenario where you're going to need it. If there's a 3-power minion on the board early in the game, use your Lightning Bolt, get rid of it. We also have a copy of Boil, so Boil is great because it destroys all minion occupying target water side, so it's not one single target. It can be all the minions that they have piled up early in the game on their sides. So all the cats, all the stags, all that sort of stuff just gets boiled. Also 2 copies of Bury, so we went over Bury in the collection. Bury is one of the best single target removal we have, whereas it's for artifacts or minions as well. The only drawback that we have is you can't target a water site. Besides that, Bury is great. We have 2 copies of Onslaught. So Onslaught is great in a sense that it will give +1 power to your auras. Some of them going to be 5 with the +1, which is massive. Can be immobilized, so it goes over like the Babbling Brook effect. So it's great as a surprise spell. You want to make your opponent feel like he's not going to be threatened by your 2-power aura minion Wall of Fire, and then boom, you had an extra +1 on that, plus the effect of Wall of Fire, and then you get rid of the 6-power minion out of nowhere like this. Having charge is good too, you know, and charge is one of the best effect you can have in sorcery. It really turns the game around and then get a lot of damage straight away. So that's why we run 2 copies of Onslaught. We have a copy of Warp Spasm. So Warp Spasm is terrifying. It's terrifying in the art. It's a great job done by Ian Miller, but it's also a terrifying effect. You have an animated Rest in Peace. It's already a 5-power minion. It's great. Double its power to 10, and you have out of nowhere aura/minion that can get rid of undead and spirits just by being in the same location as them, and then it can attack for 10. Warp Spasm really makes any minion threatening. The fact that if it kills something, it untaps and it just keeps on attacking and killing. It's a good finisher. It's a good, I wouldn't say board wipe, but it's a good board sweep at, you know, mid game. Early in the game, I wouldn't really play it, but when you get to that mid game and then you know you have to clean house in order for you to start with your plan, start having a board presence or start getting some damage in, Warp Spasm is what you want to play, what you want to draw. We also have a copy of Gigantism, so same vein as Warp Spasm, a little less efficient, but +6 is nothing to scoff at. So yeah, it costs 4, you give an allied unit +6. It can be your avatar because it's unit, and allied unit includes your avatar. So if, I don't know, your opponent plays a Persecutor, is up and close, or a Battle Mage or something like this, and then there's no other way, you have no minion on the board, boom, you put Gigantism on your avatar and you go to town, you know. So that works pretty good in our list. We have 2 copies of Poison Nova because Poison Nova is probably the single best mass removal we have, really. Like, can't really think about anything else. It goes over ward. It's great. It's such a good spell. It costs 5. It's a bit expensive, but it's really worth having a couple of copies in any list that have fire. And also Whirling Blades. No need to introduce Whirling Blades anymore. It costs 5. It does what Whirling Blades does. You know, you animate 4-power aura and then Whirling Blade it. You do that with a Wildfire. Yeah, you put Whirling Blade on an animated Wildfire. It's lots of fun. Okay, moving on to sites. So our mana base, it's 3 elements, so it was a bit of a head scratcher to address the 3 element thing, but luckily Gothic brought us the best land that they could, basically, in a sense of the double threshold basic lands. So we have the fire, we have the air, and then we have the fertile earth. So all 3 of them are in there. We have 2 copies of each. That just helps us sort out our early game a lot. So initially you really want to have either the earth or you want the air in your opening end, so you want a mulligan for this if possible. We don't necessarily have any like fire spell that are very important early in the game, but we do have a lot of entangled terrain, which is 2 earth threshold, sphere of animosity as well, 2 air threshold, so you want to have at least 2 earth or 2 air threshold very quickly. So yeah, that's why they're in there, but they're probably the best land that we could have had in Gothic. We have a copy of Arid Desert because 1 chip damage is great to remove ward or finish a minion that you couldn't with a weak minion of yours. We have a Blessed Village as well. Blessed Village is great. You can have that, you know, we have a Blessed Village, so the ward on that is amazing. No condition, just play the side, boom, it gets warded. That's great. We have a Briar Patch. Briar Patch is an earth site as well. It reads, whenever an enemy unit enters or leaves this site, it takes 1 damage. So this is also part of our chip damage strategy. You want to have this further in the realm, don't keep that on the back row or anything. And yeah, just force your opponent's minion to go through and then start doing the job for you. So we have 2 towers in here, the Dark Tower and the Gothic Tower. Fertile Earth, we went over it. Fields of Camelin, an amazing board wipe on the site. You get to choose 1 remaining minion as well, which is the only drawback because your opponent gets to choose 1 minion as well, but get rid of the rest. We have a copy of Glastonbury Tour as threshold fixing, copy of Gnome Hollow. Play Gnome Hollow under your avatar as a first sight, and then you use scheming a lot of possible minion that your opponent could bring early or late in the game onto your avatar. A-Stack as well. When A-Stack was first spoiled, everyone was like, oh, this is it, you know. Common sense won't ever be played anymore. A-Stack is great because it stops browse, it stops common sense and all of that, so it's not as overpowered as everyone thought it would be, but I still do like to run at least 1 copy of a Haystack in there, just for the fact that if your opponent plays water and then all those water sites like Top Deck Manipulation or Kelp Cavern as well, it just basically doesn't work with Haystack, so it's really decent. Probably not good enough to have 3 copies of it, but 1 copy in there is great. We also have a copy of Impenetrable Cops, so projectile can't enter the site from the outside, so it's also a great site to have a little further in the realm. It acts as a wall, so no projectile coming like magic missiles and all that sort of stuff. It can also be where you put your avatar on basically, and you save from firebolts and all that sort of stuff. No Man's Land is a great site in here because our minions won't be minions all the time, or at least after them. So we can have auras in there and then have that terrain advantage and then just animate our auras once it's on there, because the only restriction is you can't summon anything on there, but once something is on there, you know, it can stay, it's not a problem. So that gives a bit of a tempo early in the game, which is good for us. We also have 2 Observatory. Observatory is amazing because it still works with A-Stack because it's the top 3 spells, so it breaks the parity a little bit. If you have your A-Stack and you draw Observatory, it's fine, it's not a dead card. And Top Deck Manipulation is what you want in any card game basically. You want to know a little bit what's happening in the future for you. We also have a copy of Pilgrim Shrine. So Pilgrim Shrine is great because if you animate your auras into a minion and then leaves this site where it will be protected for the turn, so you can possibly keep your Black Plague or your Famine for 1 more turn, in the sense that it'll be warded, so it's good. Pillar of Zero, so the life gain is huge. Poison Well is great too. Poison Well usually inflicts at least 2 points of damage to your opponent just to play a site. In my opinion, it's great, so I always have a copy of Poison Well in my fire list. We have 2 ruins for threshold fixing, 2 Silent Hills as well. So Silent Hills is another silence redundancy effect that we have from the sisters. If you play Silent Hill, you know, and then you play your Giantess or your Butcher, it's a good redundancy effect. And it also silences your opponent minions. So I see it as a double benefit to run Silent Hill, and this is why we have 2 copies in here. Colorado Space, obviously, for early threshold fixing, same as 2 Valley of Delights. You get to choose your own element. It's great. We run 3 elements. It's a bit of a juggling at times. Sometimes you'll get frustrated because you don't have what threshold you need. Valley of Delight is here for that. We have 1 windmill, fit threshold fixing, and withering heights as well, because if you have an oversized aura / minion on withering height, well, you can span way more territory if you get to move it with withering heights. So yeah, pretty good. So there you have it, guys, my Enchantress list updated for this year. We'll get some live gameplay in with this list, see how it goes, and then I'll post it on the channel. So stay tuned for the next vid, guys. Thanks for watching.